So, hello and welcome to the Ravens, a One Tree Hill podcast. I'm Simon.
And I'm Dom.
And tonight we are honoured to be joined, Dom, by One Tree Hill legend. Royalty is in the house. I'm talking the character that has the biggest impact with the smallest amount of screen time. And tonight on the Ravens podcast, he speaks and we love it. Colin Fickes, thank you so much for joining us. It is an absolute honour. Welcome, and how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
The honour is all ours, right, Dom?
Oh, it genuinely is all of ours. We're so excited to talk to you and just to get to find out about your experience and kind of what you've been up to, but mostly just to say hello to you is a great honour. So yeah, we really appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, our first question to take it to the beginning is how did you first get into acting and end up in the first two episodes of One Tree Hill? And also, if you could touch on Dawson's Creek as well, would be amazing because we cover that. We've covered that on our channel as well, and it was awesome to see you in there.
Cool. Yeah, that was a million years ago. But my recollection is that I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, and was playing soccer as a kid, but wasn't very good at it. And, you know, always looking for ways to express myself. Started doing community theater. My mom was super supportive and, enrolled me in all the, theater camps and things in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I started doing community theater locally. And then there was this really cool thing that happened in the early 90s where a lot of productions were leaving New York and Los Angeles, and they were going to other places in the United States where there was more of a tax incentive to film. And so North Carolina and Wilmington, North Carolina, it became this kind of hotbed of productions that had left New York and LA, and they were shooting locally. And so I got an agent in Raleigh, North Carolina, and started auditioning kind of as a kid. I mean, I was like 12 or so when I started auditioning for TV and film. And I would drive 2 hours from Raleigh, North Carolina to Wilmington, which is on the coast. And it was fun because I would like get out of school and spend the afternoon going to the beach and auditioning. And was doing that for a while and got my first gig on a Coen Brothers film with Paul Newman and Tim Robbins that was filmed in Wilmington called The Hudsucker Proxy. And so had a speaking line in that and then kept auditioning. And then I booked Dawson's Creek right in between high school and college. So I spent, I think, that summer right before college doing Dawson's Creek and kept auditioning and then got a part in a horror film that was shooting in Richmond, Virginia. And so that took me out of college in my second semester of my first year. And from then on, I had met all these actors that were around my age and they were like doing what I love doing and they weren't in school. And I was like, you know what, I really want to go for it. And I moved to New York City when I was 19, started auditioning there, and then eventually moved to Los Angeles. And I was actually living in Los Angeles when I heard about the One Tree Hill audition and auditioned in LA. It's a really long, convoluted story, but auditioned in LA. They said no. And then the local casting director in Wilmington, who I had known from growing up, said, actually, no, he's really right for this part. And they had me come to North Carolina to audition to be hired as a local because the studio could save money that way. And so, it's just a real long story. And so I was hired as a local, did the exact same audition I did in LA, but in North Carolina, because I was being hired as a local, for some reason I got the job. So they could save some money. And then I was hired as a local and did the first 2 episodes. And that's kind of how it started.
Awesome. Perfect answer.
A long answer, but that's the answer. And then, and a lot of people don't know this, but I left the show after 2 episodes. I was told I would be in the first 4, and then I got to North Carolina and I was still paying for my I was still a struggling actor in LA, and I was paying for a place in LA. I was paying for a place in North Carolina because I said I was a local. So when you're a local, you don't have to, the studio doesn't have to pay for your lodging. And so I was renting a house in Wilmington as well. And then like the third episode, the script came in and I was cut out of a lot of it and was only being hired for like a day. And I couldn't afford to keep the place in LA and the place in Wilmington. So I unfortunately and sadly had to leave the show. But in a strange turn of events, had I stayed on, I don't think you would have seen the arc that is created in season 3.
Wow.
So that's some tea for you there. The true story.
That's awesome. And we had no idea about that.
A lot of people don't. I'm finally kind of like talking about it some. So, it's like as an actor, you're really just trying to get work. And there are so many people that end up deciding to do local hire, but you also, financially, it's not always the best move when, you're living in a bigger city where you're trying to make it. For some people, it works out. For me, I couldn't afford to, when I was like not really, my scenes were getting cut from some of the future episodes, and I was like, can't afford to do it. But I would have loved to have stayed. But I think I'm rambling. But it's a teen soap opera, and there were all these pretty faces. And the creator at the time, Mark Schwann, kept telling me and Lee Norris that he was really rooting for our characters because that's kind of how he felt or who he was in high school. And then he kept telling us, and I don't know if it's true, is that the studio, they wanted the pretty people and not the average Joes. So we were, from the beginning, it was like I was fighting to get on the show. I was fighting to stay on the show, and it just didn't work out. But then they did have me back in season 3 to do that big dramatic arc. So.
As a first-time watcher of the show, so the kind of the point of our podcast is that Simon loves the show, has seen it 4 or 5 times all the way through. I've never seen it, and he's guiding me through. So we watched the first 2 episodes. We love Jimmy Edwards. We talk about him all the time, and I'm continuously saying for like the next sort of 60-odd episodes, when's Jimmy coming back? And then there's this big reveal. Jimmy returns, and it was like I wasn't expecting it, to be honest, and I was so happy that it happened, which kind of leads us into our next question, because we had a few questions in between, but you beautifully answered them with your answer as you went through. But your return in season 3 episode 15 and then the conclusion in episode 16 are like the most memorable for the entire show. Like definitely for me so far as well, but I think they're definitely going to stick in my mind forever. Is it sort of surreal for you to have such a huge impact on a show with only 4 episodes kind of under your belt that you were involved in, particularly those 2?
Great question. It's pretty crazy to me because if you really add it up, I really wasn't there for that long. And I think it's interesting. I think there's 2 types of viewers. There's viewers like you who remembered me for a little while, but I would argue that it's most of the people that I meet at conventions, and it's kind of great storytelling too. And I don't think it was purposeful in the beginning because, again, I left the show and they couldn't write. They had to write me out, I guess, for any of the scenes that I was going to be doing for episode 3 and 4. But they forgot about me, right? And so you're kind of feeling guilty as a fan of the show if you're watching, and then you realize that you're kind of like his group of friends who forgot who he is or had let him fall by the wayside and lost track of him. So I think it's an interesting, happy accident that there are fans that I think feel the same way that maybe the characters did as well when there's that regret. I mean, it's great that you remembered me, but I would say that most of the people that I meet at conventions are like, yeah, I completely forgot about, Jimmy in the beginning. I could be wrong about that, but it's interesting. There's 2 types, of viewers that either fully remember or had forgotten. And then it takes that long until episode 315 that you're like, oh my God, yeah, what happened to him? So, but it is interesting that I did 4 episodes and I feel like I keep saying, man, if I got a nickel for every time they said the name Jimmy Edwards on the show, because it kind of keeps going, right? And I don't want to spoil too much for you, but yeah, it was really interesting to have only done 4 episodes and to have it be this kind of epic storyline that unfolded.
Well, firstly, this is a great podcast already, so I've got the pink champagne here, just because I had a feeling I wasn't going to bring this out if this wasn't going well.
It's not even Wednesday, Simon.
The thing is it's going well, so allow 1 second.
Mm-hmm. Cheers.
This happens. Yeah, I'll join Colin on this.
That's the taste of successful podcasting right there. I'd like to take some credit. I was playing mean joke on Dom throughout season 1 and 2 up until you were coming back, and I kept joking with him that, remember Jimmy, one day he's going to come back with a gun and, you know, this, that and the other. I mean, obviously I was trying to put it in such plain sight for him that right. He wouldn't think it's ever possible, you know, and then when you came back to make the reveal even more. Yeah. There's something I wanted to add, and something that we really complimented you on. So many things we complimented you on when we covered that episode on our podcast, or those 2 episodes. But considering that I know you've done other projects and things, but you hadn't been within the One Tree Hill world and in the filming process, where all of your co-stars had, especially in 316, when you are the focal point in the middle. Like, that's so much weight to be carrying in terms of all of the dialogue you had to obviously remember. Your performance is so amazing that it's so you having to do the whole variety of emotions. Did you feel like a lot of weight, considering you didn't have that rapport maybe with like the camera operators and, you know, the writers and everyone else like the rest of your co-stars did?
I mean, yeah, just generally speaking, it's really hard to be a guest actor on a show because everyone that's there knows each other, the crew, the cast, everyone. And it's like they're a family. And so when you're coming in for just a little snippet of time, it's hard. But I think the whole like feeling of this story for me and my time on One Tree Hill was that, and it helped inform the character as well. It's like always trying to prove yourself and be seen. And it's like Jimmy only wanted to be seen. And I kind of feel like as an actor, you know, that's what actors want too. And I think with everything that kind of played out with this specific TV show, how I was auditioning in LA and they were like, no, he's, you know, and then I go to North Carolina and do the same audition. And then they're like, yes, he's perfect. It's like, and then I like had to try to prove myself. And then, you know, then they wrote me out of the, you know, they cut some of my scenes and I couldn't afford to stay in Wilmington at the time. And it was like always trying to prove myself. So I relate in that sense as a guest actor coming on. It's just, you're trying to do the best job you can do. And then in terms of, in terms of that specific episode, it was really scary because it was a lot of dialogue. And I'm so grateful that I have a background in theater where it's all about the script and you have to be off book and you have to know it, you know, frontwards and backwards. And, you know, when I got that script, I locked myself in a hotel room and did not leave. And everyone's like, how's Wilmington? And Wilmington is great. And I know it well because I, you know, grew up going there for auditions, but, you know, didn't really experience much of the, of Wilmington because I was in a hotel room learning all of the lines. So I really just tried to be as prepared as possible because it was a big undertaking. I was very scared to, I wanted to do it really honestly. And I was also like, how is this going to fit on a teen soap opera? Because it was very, as you've seen, it's like, it's unlike no other episode to date from what had been showing before that episode. So, you know, I was like, how can we make it really real and honest, even though we are in this like very much teen soap opera vibe, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There was some pressure there.
And had you kept up watching the show in between like from the season? Did you have to quickly catch up?
I mean, every now and again. And in full transparency, I have not seen most episodes. I watched a couple, I think, of the first couple of seasons, and I maybe have seen three episodes of subsequent episodes. Maybe one day I'll sit down. We can do another podcast where I'm sitting down and watching the show.
That would be awesome.
Let's do that. We should absolutely do that.
Cool. Let's
and
do it.
I won't be the only one that's new to it. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Like, one thing, just coming back to that episode and kind of the process around learning the lines and stuff. So you obviously had such a great volume of dialogue. You lock yourself away, you learn it. Is it just read and read and read and read for you, and it kind of sinks in? Or are you having to go back to it every now and then and kind of take chunks of it and hope to process it that way? Was there a bit of ad-libbing, or are the team that are filming you saying, no, word for word, you know?
It was all word for word.
Wow.
Everything was word for word, because, you know, having done theater, it's like it's all in the script. And so I would read it, put it away and think about it, sleep on it, come back, read it. I mean, and just back and forth, and just kept trying to find the ways, you know, that I was going to portray it. And it's interesting. I think there was one disagreement that I had with the director at the time, who, the line at the very end when I'm saying I'm not here, he did not want it to. Actually, and it was with the creator too. It was with Mark Schwann, and I think it was Mark who didn't like how I was saying it. He felt like I was disengaging, and he. This is from what I recall. This was years ago. I was saying it like it's an out of body experience at that moment. Where he is really out of at that point, because he's gone that whole hour of or that whole day in the tutor center, that he would be kind of out of it at that point. And he thought that, I think Mark thought that he wanted it to be where I wasn't out of it, where it was like, and I don't know how he wanted the line said, but it was like, he didn't want it to feel like I was out of it and killed myself because I was just out of it. He wanted me to remain in control. And I think I was in control, but it is this that's just how I felt the character would have done it. I know I'm rambling right now, but
that's a super memorable part. We commented on that, on how what a great choice that was, because it's like you said, he had been through so much trauma, and then it was like, could this even be real? And then finally sort of letting go, it kind of made it even sadder. It was like Jimmy had been pushed to this point. So yeah, and that line reading, like I hear so many, I said this to you in an email, I hear so many of your lines of dialogue in my head randomly from time to time, because they're so memorable. Sorry, Dom, what was you going to say?
No, it was like it felt like a complete resolution. Exactly like you said, like Jimmy has got to this point. Felt, Dom. And that's how I felt. And it was like
the button to everything. It was like, and
it's done.
It still was his choice, but it was like he had this moment where it's like, you know how they say when you die, your whole life flashes before your eyes? I think for him in that moment, everything that was flashing through when he's like, I'm not here, was like, kind of like, I cannot believe that this is where I am at. Like that it led to this, and that I could not get pulled out of it. I couldn't get pulled out of the depression. Everyone tried in the tutor room to get me out of it. And it just nothing, he was in such despair that nothing could do it. And then he's realizing at the end, I'm not here. This is it.
And it was, I have to say, portrayed perfectly.
Thank you.
That came across perfectly. I mean, the subject matter is difficult, as it is, you know, with everything going on and kind of the subject matter in general, you know, school shooting, or, you know, a student with a gun, the depression, the loneliness, really, really tough to handle. But I have to say, handled and performed just expertly and so well. And again, I also have to say, the best piece of acting, definitely within this show, but probably that I've seen for a very long time.
Oh, wow. So. Thank you so much for saying that. I'm curious, too. I mean, there aren't a lot of school shootings in the UK, correct? No.
That's correct. Yeah, we.
So, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, to see it, it's such an American pandemic that I'm curious what it was for you, where you live in a place where you're not having to wake up most days to reading something or seeing something where there's been a school shooting or a kid's brought a gun to school and bullying and all of those things. But I'm curious what it was like watching for you both.
I'll let Simon go first.
I think it's foreign. It's definitely foreign to us in both senses of the word. And we had our friend Lex, who's an American, cover that episode with us as like a guest, and we were explaining that our experiences with it were very different because she watched it in real time and was in high school, in American high school, and was saying that when she went to school the next day, the episode had stayed with her. It was like a feeling that had stayed. Where I think when we watch it, and I guess, and obviously we're older anyway now, but it's kind of like that. We wouldn't expect to see that happen because guns aren't accessible like that in this country. So I think it makes America feel scarier. And Dom, what did you think?
Yeah, it's not something that's like a regular occurrence. There was a weird statistic that I read the other day. Like, I can't remember what it is now. There's like is there one a day in the States?
That
something
sounds
like that.
Right.
There's a school shooting a day.
Yeah.
Oh my
something
God.
like
That's crazy.
It's massively high. I mean, like scarily high. But for us over here, there's one every other decade, perhaps. And that's the contrast. And it's because it's not so accessible to us. And all our knowledge of it and, witnessing it from films that have been made, Michael Moore and on all of that and everything that comes out on the news that, if it's particularly horrendous, it is, what's displayed on TV. And that's kind of our experience of it. So kind of this sort of little bit of insight that you've allowed us and shown us, like how people can get into such a state and into such a state of mind and then do these things and act in that way. And this character and your character didn't want to hurt anyone, really. Didn't really want to hurt anyone. Just wanted to
be heard.
Just wanted to listen to me and prove a point.
Totally.
And then it escalates, But I guess for us it's a bit alien. It's a bit strange. It's not something that we've ever dealt with. I certainly never went to school worrying about it or think it would ever be a possibility. I'm sure everyone goes to school not thinking it'll happen, but I guess in the States it does. So it's scary.
And can I ask two questions on the back of that, Colin? I mean, the first one being, how did it make you feel to be proposed with that idea? I mean, that subject matter of being so serious and like timely, because that was something that was, really happening. It's happening all the time, what we're hearing, but it was like really predominant in the news and everything. And then also, I have to ask, just before I forget, I just want to hear you, because you're the only person I think that can actually answer this. I had said that in the episode when Jimmy shoots the gun, his eyes like go super wide, like as in, oh my God, that's actually just happened. And I was saying, or we were saying, that was the shock of that the gun actually went off. Like, it's something that maybe he'd thought about it, but never thought he would actually do it. And that's the look of you'd actually crossed the line.
It was the moment that the line is crossed. As an actor, that's what it was for me. It was like, with the sound of it, the look of it, the breaking of the glass, the student reactions and screams, was like a whole new game. Like, everything just flipped. So it was that shock of excuse my language, holy shit, like, this is it. And now what do I do? he like wanted to be heard and seen, and then now all he's wanting to do is hide. And that was my character choice too. Like if you watch the way I leave, the way I walk from that, it's like he retreats back and he's inward again, and he's like shuffling along, and all he does is want to blend in with the students, which he had wanted to be heard and seen finally. And then it was like, okay, wait. And then, so yeah, that's the moment where it was like, just, he knew everything was game changer right there. And it was all those things. It was the sound, the bullet, the spark from the gun, the glass breaking, the student reactions, all that stuff. And what was, then you had another question.
How did you feel when it was proposed to you with that subject matter?
It wasn't so much about the subject matter for me. It was more of like where I was as an actor at that time. And I was wanting to do a lot of dramatic things. Like I think it was around the time I had done this Southern Gothic indie Sundance movie with Billy Bob Thornton and Harry Dean Stanton. And I was like wanting to be this like serious actor. And then when they said they wanted to bring me back in, I was like, yeah, I want to go back into the soap opera world and like fuck it up. And I was excited, scared and nervous, but excited to try to do that and start thinking about how we can do it really honestly and tell an honest story with, like I said, within the whole world of a teen soap opera. But in terms of like the school shoot, like I didn't do any research on school shooting, because as an actor, all you can really focus on, at least my feeling, is like the emotions and the thoughts and what is the character thinking? What is the character feeling? It does not have anything to do with, statistics of, I just had to make it really personal and dig really deep and find the emotion and the feeling behind that character and what he evolved to at the beginning of 315, the episode before, because that's really my only route in to like try to map it out from there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would have been inundated with too many other thoughts thinking about, we're covering school shootings and what that means. And I just tried to keep it about the script and the character and where he was in episode 315, what's happening with the time capsule, and then plotting each step forward after that. Like, because as an actor, that's all I can do.
And when you're kind of in that mode, in that zone, are you like, okay, everybody, I need you to kind of stay away from me. This is how I'm thinking. I'm getting myself set. Or are you like, okay, once they say cut, back to normal, all chats and fun and wonderful?
It would change. It would change day to day. I remember there was a very serious feeling on the set for the entire time we filmed those episodes. I remember Lee, who's a friend of mine who plays Mouth, he was listening to music a lot and really listening to like depressing, emotional music. And I think we kept our distance a little more than usual, but then there were days where it was super fun and light. It just kind of just depended on the day and what we were shooting. But I lost my voice. That was something that was really scary, because we kind of shot it. We tried to shoot the 316 in order as much as we could, which means you're not jumping around too much. You're kind of shooting it in the order that it happens. And in the beginning, I scream a lot. And so it was a really big issue where, you shoot something 15 times, like one scene, you shoot from way far back, and you come in for close-ups, and you're doing the 3-shot, 2-shot, all the angles. And you have to, I learned a lot as an actor, because it's like you have to save yourself. You have to reserve some of it. But you still, when they're filming the other actor and you're not on the camera, you want to give that actor everything that you can to make their performance amazing. So I would go all out. But I feel like on some of the wide shots, I could have like done less. But I really just tried to give it my all every shot or every take. But I did lose my voice, and they considered giving me like there's some kind of shot you can do in your throat to get your voice back. I was taking like throat coat. I was drinking all these teas, and it was just a mess. It was just like a lot of work. Trying not to lose my voice. And if you see at the end, when we do the suicide prevention, there's a PSA we shot at the very end, and we filmed it right after we shot the last scene where I'm laying on the ground. And we had already been into, I think, an hour or two of overtime. And psychologically, if you've ever held a gun to your chest and had it go off, I mean, it's a mind fuck. And I had to go right into doing this PSA, and I couldn't even read the cue cards. I mean, if you watch it, I'm so out of it. Don't even know what I'm saying. I think at one point Chad was like, "Are you serious? You can't, these are the lines." And I'm like, "I'm out of it." I was so tired. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing we actually probably hadn't considered, is that you're a real life human being holding a gun to yourself, and I guess setting it off, for a TV show, but you're still doing that motion and that action. And
I did not sleep that night.
Oh, wow.
As I was dozing off, I thought I was dead. It was weird.
That's unreal. That's crazy.
Yeah, every night, every time I would start to doze off and you wake yourself up again, I was like, oh my God, I'm dead. It was weird. It was really weird. The other crazy thing is the movie The Crow was filmed at the same studio. And my understanding from what I remember is when they were doing the gun instruction and they had me in a bulletproof vest because there was a blank. And even with a blank, just to be super safe, I was wearing some padding there on my chest. And we rehearsed the gun in another soundstage that we weren't using at the time for filming. And I'm fairly certain it was the soundstage where Brendan Lee, the actor in The Crow, was shot accidentally on set and died. Wow. So he was Bruce Lee's son, who was in the movie The Crow. So that was another kind of trippy moment as well. So it was intense for sure. But at the end of the day, I had so much fun doing it. I really did. And I enjoyed it.
I mean, with the recent controversy and sadness of what happened recently in the industry with guns and blanks as well, I mean, yeah, that must have been really, really scary. And I mean, within that scene, one of the questions that we had was, it's so memorable and heartbreaking that it always hurts and you're thumping on your chest. Right. And as Dom was saying, such an amazing, nuanced, wonderful performance. When you were doing that, did you have a pad there, or were you actually damaging yourself because you're doing it really hard?
Yeah, I was wearing the bulletproof vest.
Right. Okay. So that was helping.
Yeah, but you know what? I can't remember. I don't know if that was written in the script or not. I can't remember. I don't have the script, so I'm curious. I was thinking back because I saw that question ahead of time, and I was like, did I come up with that, or was it in the script? But yeah, it was intense because it was take after take of really just knocking the shit out of my chest.
That's the part that sticks with me and affects me the most. That's the line that gets me the most. Yeah, but I mean, not to go too deep into my own personal things, but we all I hate it when people say, "Oh, I have mental health," whatever. Everybody has mental health, It's something everybody has. I guess mine can be a bit turbulent sometimes, and I can sometimes feel that way. It does. Sometimes it feels like it can always hurt, and especially in heightened emotions. And it was kind of especially in high school, where everybody has these layers and facades of who they're supposed to be, and Jimmy says, the jocks, the stoners, or whoever. And it was every layer had been peeled back from Jimmy at that point, and it was just actually at the core, you've got a young guy, a kid, a teenager on their knees in ultra vulnerability, just saying it hurts. All of these, the looks, the microaggression, the bullying, all of these things, it all has that effect. And it was just such raw emotion. I really hope it was an ad-lib by you so we can give you all of the credit. But regardless, the credit goes to you anyway for the performance.
It might have been written. I don't know. I truly don't know. If anyone has a script out there, let me know what it says. Regardless, yeah, that's really cool that you connected that way. I think you're right. It's a completely stripped down moment where he's just being so authentic and saying exactly how he feels. So, well said.
Oh, well acted.
Thank you.
We quite often say on the podcast that I have no soul because I tend not to cry at things. I don't cry at TV or films.
Yeah.
But definitely moved by your performance. So the fact that the kind of impact on Simon in such a way, you can really see that performance getting through, and that it means something to people, and it's so important. And it's definitely such a fantastic job.
Thank you.
But do you think that any of the other characters that sort of Jimmy was either previously close to or stuck with in the tutor center, or that had locked in the tutor center with him, could have saved him? Did they have the potential to save Jimmy and turn this round and either reconcile or start to make him feel better, or get him to a better place at least?
It's a great question. I don't know if I know the answer, because I should, right? Because I was I played the part. My instinct says no, that is the second that the gun goes off, he knows he has done something that is he can't come back from. I think he wanted to. I think his despair, the way I played the character, was that his despair and loneliness and sadness was so bad that there was nothing anyone could have done. And that's kind of how I played it. And I think I played moments in the tutor room where he wanted to be pulled out and be saved. It's like, here's your life vest. Like, we're trying to save you. And I think Mouth does that. Does a great job of that. And I think Bethany Joy did a great. Joy Lenz did a great job of that. But it just wasn't enough. I think some people are so low can get so low sometimes that there's no way up at times. The goal, I think people can get out. Obviously, people do get out of it, and they live their lives, and they do the best that they can to try to stay up as much as they can. And but I think in Jimmy's situation, there just wasn't there wasn't a way it was ever going to happen. I think he knew once the gun went off that he wasn't going to leave the school alive. Yeah,
and that's kind of what's so sort of fantastic about that final scene that you have, with Keith. Craig Sheffer is opposite you, because you have, like we were saying, Jimmy's got to that resolution. This is it. I'm done. This is I can't go anymore. I've tried, and the pain, and it hurts, and you have the most reasonable, or what I consider to be the most reasonable character in the show, standing in front of you saying, I've been through this. I've been through pain. I can help you. I can do this. And that's what makes this so impactful, is that this person who's the most, I'm going to say the word normal and reasonable and kind and helpful, can't get through to you. And that is what impacts it the most for me.
Because there is help. Everyone can get help. It's just, I knew how it was written, and I was like, I know how this is going to end. And it's just really sad all around. That, I almost think the better writing would have been to have him be saved. How cool would that have been? If it wasn't for the drama of it all. Because we already had 50 minutes of it. Did the last 10 minutes need to... I don't know. That's just, I'm proposing that. Like, did it need to go that way? What if he could have been saved? What does that look like? What does the success story of depression look like, right? I think that would have been kind of cool. I can tell you what I didn't like is that you then, in full soap opera fashion, have everything that we've just experienced for an hour with Jimmy Edwards, and then Dan comes around a corner and picks up the gun and steals the spotlight. And it's like, steals the spotlight in the sense that you're now taking the focus away from mental illness. You're taking it away from suicide. You're taking it away from the gun pandemic that we have in our school systems in America. And I know that it's a soap opera, and I had known what I'd signed up for, but I thought that was just like, it overshadowed it. I really did. But I also know that you had to serve the storyline, and that's the direction that it was going to go in. And maybe it was really good for the ratings, so I can tell you too that I didn't know. I was laying there on the ground. The final page of the script was X'd out. No one could see it.
No way.
And I'm laying there after having done all that I just did. And then I'm like, what's going on? And yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
That would have been funnier if you just suddenly sat up out of the death like, what? What is going on? But that's so true, what you just said. And I guess I hadn't really considered that, because we kind of see it as the biggest twist in the show is that Dan shoots his brother. But I think what you were just saying there, what could have been maybe a more intricate way of writing it would have been really soap opera-y this way, but why not? It could have been that Jimmy shoots himself, then Dan comes in, shoots Keith, but Jimmy's not dead, right? You shot yourself, but, missed this stuff, the important stuff. And so, like Jimmy knows. And so then Dan has this whole thing, but you can't be reached. Because then you could have maybe had some sort of, like seeing therapy, and Mouth could have done something to be a friend and sort of, see what that looks like to get to a positive resolution. Because, and then the other point that I just wanted to add to hear your thoughts on was your episode. So we had Paul Johansson on the show, and he said that on that episode he was really unsure about having to do that scene and was scared about killing off Keith and Craig Sheffer's character, but there was all this pressure on it because the show was going to be cancelled, and this was like an effort to increase the ratings, which it obviously did. That. Yeah. Well, the show went on for another 6 seasons. So where's
my paycheck, guys?
Right. Well, but what you pulled off, you actually, if you had given a bad performance, right, or if it hadn't have gone well and hadn't been as amazing as it was, you helped to provide jobs for, however many hundred people on the set, the cast, everything, managed to go on for another 6 years because of how pivotal that episode was. I mean, that's etched in history, in One Tree Hill history. I mean, that must be a great feeling, right? That you had such impact.
You're the first person that's ever said that. Yeah, that's, I mean, if that's true, which I had heard that as well, that it was like a ratings push to really bump up the stakes. It's amazing. But it's kind of, I don't know, if I'm being fully honest, I feel a little used, right? I tried to be on this show, was in for the first 2 episodes. They started writing me out of it. I had to leave, and then I get brought back in to save the show. I mean, I don't know if that's the facts, but it's like, it's an amazing feeling, but it's, but it's also kind of like, wow, I would have loved to have been in more episodes. That would have been fun. So it feels a little bit like a ploy, but I also, as an actor, loved playing those scenes. So had it not shaken out the way it did, I wouldn't have had that opportunity, which I'm so blessed to have had. And, I hear from fans all the time that have been through depression and attempted suicide and all of these things. And so the fans that I hear from, I mean, that's priceless. Like the fact that this show, and specifically this storyline with my character, has affected so many people. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I would do it 1,000,000 times over if it has helped or saved one person. So I'm somewhat joking with the whole like, brought in to save the show, but I'm very grateful, and if it's helped one person, that's fantastic. So no complaints.
And that's super valid. Sorry, I know Dom's got the next question, but that's super valid to feel that way, like of feeling used, because I think we would all agree with that. I guess something to add is there's so many characters that come in and out of One Tree Hill, and particularly as we go on, they might do 2 season stints, whole seasons. Their impact is nowhere near what Jimmy Edwards' impact is on the show, and as memorable, and like you said, and connecting with people. And if the art of the cinematic arts is about connecting with the viewer, then you did that a million times over. So I think we're all grateful for what you gave, and was definitely not forgettable, where there are a lot of people on the other side of that,
Thank you for saying that. That's very kind.
I totally agree with what Simon just said as well, because there's characters that I very much dislike at the moment, and you're miles above them.
Which characters are you not liking right now?
I can't stand Rachel.
It was
she
her
drives
fault.
me.
She released the time capsule.
Exactly. She drives me nuts, and this is all because of her. But yeah, she drives me nuts. It's not a character I enjoy watching or seeing on screen, and I guess that's part of the writing. It's part of the reason you're not supposed to like this character. She has a difficult history, and she makes her present difficult as well, and that's the problem.
Frustrating.
And that's why I really don't like the character. But I exactly what Simon was saying. You changed the landscape of the show for me in terms of teen drama to drama, and that was the difference. That's where the turning point happened in your episode and with your performance. So
when I did my job,
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, I thank you all for watching and for being fans of the show. Absolutely.
Forever, always, always. Well, go on, Dom.
Well, should we go to our listener questions? I've got a question from Kat. So we've got a question from some of our listeners, and you kind of already touched on it a little bit with what you were just saying a minute ago, Colin. And so this is from Kat, who's one of our Aussie listeners. And she's put, did Colin feel pressure as a guest character to come in and play the role again, where Jimmy changes the entire direction of the show? Would Colin have preferred to have been one of the Rivercourt guys who appeared randomly in a handful of episodes each season across the entire series? Or was tackling the 2 episodes arc in season 3 more rewarding and of an experience as the actor to be so memorable as Jimmy, basically?
That part. Yeah, it was more memorable to come in and really just not, blow it out of the water. It was way more impactful to do that, I think. I mean, I think my bank account would have rather had several seasons and several episodes and all that good stuff. But as an actor, I mean, you can't wish for something more than those 2 episodes in the 3rd season. So I really enjoyed doing it as an actor. It was fantastic. Yeah.
And can I ask you a question? I always ask, I'm someone that enjoys prop collecting and memorabilia and those kind of things. You can see some of the stuff behind me. But did you get to keep any stuff? Like, did you keep like the burgundy hoodie or anything?
Yeah, I didn't. And it's one of my regrets. I wish I had asked to keep the red hoodie. I feel like maybe I asked at one point, but they had to keep it for continuity, because I also know when they did the Abbey, I don't know how much I can say because Dom hasn't.
They've done some of the dream. Yeah, we've seen in some of the dream sequences where Jimmy's body's on the ground, right? Mm-hmm. And they've got and it's got the hoodie on.
Some of that is me, and then some of it is a stunt double.
Yeah, right.
So they didn't want to fly me in to just lay on the ground, which I don't blame them for that. But so they needed to keep the red hoodie for that, I guess, for like continuity stuff if they were to do other things. But I do wish I had the red hoodie. I'm not going to lie. That would be fun.
I'm gonna try for you. So because we've been connecting with people from One Tree Hill in all different departments, and we had Matt Sullivan on, who was the set dresser, and he went on to being set designer and all kinds of cool things. And he's still friends with the guy that has all of the wardrobe and everything at Warner
nice.
Brothers. And he has bits in, some of the things I've been trying to get things here and there. But if we could manage to locate that hoodie, it deserves to be with you and framed somewhere.
Amazing. That would be fantastic. Let me know what happens with that. Just to real quickly speak about Matt, the entire crew was so professional and amazing that we worked with, the behind the scenes. Man, it was such a great group of people on that show. I would be remiss if I didn't say that real quickly. But that's so cool that you've been speaking, Matt, and getting some memorabilia.
He's so kind to me. I was trying to, whilst organising for him to come on, I was trying to find. Long story short, there was in later seasons there was posters of Mouth when he's doing something that I can't talk about because Dom doesn't know, and you don't know actually either. But anyway, he's doing something, and I'd found it online, and I was offering to buy it off someone, and they were saying I'll give that to you for X thousands of dollars, and was like, that's crazy. And I was asking, can I just have a copy of it or something? I just wanted it for my office, just as like a cool thing. And I mentioned that to Matt. And he was just like, no worries, I've got the files. One of his friends from the show, the designer, had the files. So like, we'll just print them for you and send them to you.
That's great.
And I was like, I'll pay for the shipping. What? No, wouldn't take anything. He just sent them to me as a gift, and I have them framed up here. But it just goes to a testament of what you're saying. They were just such kind, lovely people.
Absolutely.
I'll email him and see if there's any known location on the hoodie, because you should have that for sure.
That
definitely
would be awesome. That'd be really cool.
You might need to wash it and get the blood out of it.
I do think it would need to be washed. Absolutely.
Well, our next question is from Maureen, who is our Canadian friend, and this is to show we're global with this, Colin. And she says, do you wish they kept... Oh, this is kind of the same. Do you wish they kept the character of Jimmy written in the show from season 1 to 3 and spent more time on his growing feelings of isolation from the Rivercourt boys and the rest of the school? Yeah. Or do you think the dramatic re-entry into the show, which shocked many fans, was a better creative choice?
Well, I mean, the shock value, you can't beat that. And I think if we had tried to do any of that kind of showing the build-up longer than what was shown, would have ruined that kind of shock factor. But no, I'll go back and say what you said earlier, how it would be really cool if it was actually done after, like the recovery, the saving, the redemption in a positive way through friendship. I think that would have been cooler to see. So to have that on the tail end of things. But no, I think the shock value, it's like, that's pretty great.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it would be brilliant to see like the resurgence of Jimmy Edwards, like from pre-gun in the school, and kind of see how we see Lucas like later on. So beyond your episode, he's very angry with Jimmy, and then all of a sudden he changes because he doesn't believe Jimmy could have done it to Keith, and done what's happened. So he kind of believes that there was good in him, and that he could have been the turning point and the change and the helpful one. And would it have been Lucas that helped Jimmy make that change? It'd be really like interesting to have kind of toyed with those ideas, I guess.
Yeah. Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
I know, yeah. The Chad Michael Money, I'm going to start calling him now.
What's our next one, Dom?
So we've got a question from Tammy, which is a different one. So hopefully something a little bit different here. So what did you enjoy or not enjoy about filming the episode? And do you keep in touch with any of the cast? So you've already mentioned Lee Norris. So yeah, anyone else as well?
Yeah, I keep in touch with Hillary the most, I would say, Hillary and Lee. But we're all like on a group chat. So from time to time there's, There's a group chat, but yeah, I would say Lee and Hillary the most. But yeah. I mean, what was the best part of it all? I mean, it was just really playing that dramatic character, like that dramatic stuff. I mean, it's like an actor's dream to be able to like do all those things, and that was probably the most fun. What was the hardest? I mean, losing my voice was really stressful because you talk about like carrying the weight of that episode, and it's like, well, what happens if I can't speak and we're only on day 2 of filming? And so I was really nervous about that. So I was constantly stressing about that. I even like, this is too much information, but the scene where I'm smoking out ahead of time before I walk into the school, I threw up like right before they called take. Like I was drinking the Theraflu or the throat coat to try to like get my voice back. Then I was having to smoke cigarettes, and like right before they called take, like I just went over by myself. No one saw it. No one, had to see it, but like I physically got sick. And I think a lot of that was nerves as well, feeling like I was losing my voice. But luckily it came back for the rest of the shoot.
Yeah, and I guess smoking,
part,
like on the throat as well, is never going to be good either. But you killed it, so it's all good. History wrote itself. Mia, I asked, did you do any research on school shootings? She answered that already. Nicole asked, potentially an obvious one, but we haven't asked it, so maybe not so obvious, Nicole. Have you watched the episode back since? Or how many times would you say you've seen 316?
Years ago, I watched it one other time. So I'd watched it when it first came out, and then a couple years later, I watched it again. But it's been a while. I've seen snippets, like fans will send like some snippets from the show, and so I'll see a clip here and there. But in terms of like sitting down and watching it from beginning to end, I would say I've seen it like once or twice since it came out.
Wow.
This should be a party piece. I mean, it'll be some pretty depressing parties, but you go,
Yeah.
Guys, do you want to see some of the best acting in the last sort of 20 years or so? Boom, we'll throw that on.
They're all like, friends are like, where's your beard? I've had a beard for so many years, and every day we were filming that. It's like, that's the irony of playing a teenager when you're like 20 something. It's like every day you're like shaving to try to look as young as possible. So.
Well, we watch the episodes each week with our listeners. Like we watch live on Zoom and then the next week we go and record it. And we watch that episode with like 40 of our listeners from around the world at 11 p.m. our night. It was the most anyone at the moment. We usually get about 20 people or so. We had 40 people. We had people in Australia waking up at like 6 in the morning. America, Canada, in Germany, all over Europe, everywhere, coming in to watch that episode, to see Dom reacting to your acting and everything.
Do you have a copy of this? I would love to see it.
I do.
He will do. Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
I've got your email, haven't I? So I'll find a way to send you a link.
When did you sit down to do it?
It would have been about maybe
February?
5, 6. Well, we're halfway through. I reckon it would have been now. I reckon it'd been like 5 months ago, something like that.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Because Colin, we've actually, my first message to you was about a year and a half ago, because I wanted to get it lined up before we got to 316. Like I knew it was like one of the most important interviews that we could get. We had to get you on because it's the most.
I'm late
it's the
to
most
the party. I apologize.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, it needed to be that Dom had seen your episodes anyway, so it's perfect timing. But yeah, sorry, go on, Dom. I'm rambling.
That's so cool. I would love to see that. If you
I'll
pick it up.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Cool.
I always know when the episode is considered important or big, or something big happens, by the amount of people that join us on our watch-alongs.
Yeah.
And that, I was like, what the fuck happens in this episode? There's so many people here. What's going on?
Nice.
And obviously it got to where it got to. Yeah, amazing. So
You You know what we should do, or, you know, we don't have to involve ourselves. What you should do at some point is you could probably raise a good amount of money for like charity and things, for things like suicide prevention and things like that, by doing a live watch along. Because so many, I mean, obviously that's a lot to put yourself through, but, you know, so many people would be interested to watch you reacting to the episode. I'm sure that, you know, could do like suggestive donations and things.
Absolutely.
You know,
it'd be really cool to be able to stop and start too. Like do like a stop and start, because I'm so long-winded, I would just want to talk. So it's like they wouldn't be able to hear the episode if I'm trying to talk while it's happening. But that would be really cool. We should put that together and donate it to a good cause.
If you ever need people to do the stop-start button for you, we're your guys. Okay?
Awesome. I'm terrible at all things technology, so yes, I would love your help and support with that for sure.
We got you. I'll pull out the pink champagne. Everyone will get a glass through the Zooms. Nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Sorry, go on, Dom.
So we have our next question from Chuck, who's, again, one of our listeners. And he asks, what was the first thought that went through your mind when they pitched you the idea of this storyline?
What was my first thought? I was excited. I mean, I was nervous. It was like nerves, but excited. Like, I was like, yeah, I really want to do this. Because again, I was at the right point in my career. I was really wanting to do more dramatic work. So it was like, it was perfect timing. And again, I wanted to go back and prove myself to the creatives, to the network, to be like, you know, I can do this. So yeah, I was mainly excited and a little bit nervous. Yeah.
Awesome. And then the final question is from Daniel, and he asked that essentially a lot of the other characters in the tutor center end up kind of lashing out at Jimmy, rather than sort of there are elements of positive support, but it's more sort of on the negative foot. Did that surprise you when reading that initially, or did you think that they would be more supportive, or I guess that was put in to raise the stakes, so to speak?
Well, I understood it because I think they wanted it to be like a dialogue. That whole being stuck in the tutor center was like this opportunity for all the different types of people in high school to like react or say what they would want to say. So it's kind of like a representation, I think, was the goal of that. I could be wrong, but like, I think not all of it made a lot of sense, because at the end of the day, he had a gun and he could have shot whoever the hell he wanted to shoot. Right. But I think it fed the story. It fed the storyline in a nice way, because all the different groups, when you're watching, whoever you're identifying with in that room has a voice, and it might not be the right thing, like trying to intervene or say mean things, might always not be the right thing to do, but it, you know, I think it helped feed the storyline to where everyone could feel like they had a say, if that makes sense. Because again, I think they really wanted it to be about a dialogue, that it wasn't just me yelling at everyone. It was like everyone had a chance to kind of react in the way that they thought that their characters would have reacted.
Yeah, great answer. All great answers. Amazing.
Yeah.
We could talk. Yeah, you've killed it. I mean, we could talk to you forever, but we know that you have a life and you have to live it. So we're so incredibly grateful for your time. It's been an honor to speak with you, and for all of your insight. And like we've both been saying, we really appreciate your performance in the show. And the legacy will live forever. So yeah, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you all. The One Tree Hill fans are the best fans that exist. So there would not have been a show without the fans. And thank you for all the kind words. Thank you for having me. Thanks for watching the show. And we'll do it again soon.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and honestly, our
maybe not. We won't do
privilege.
it again. Jimmy's dead, but you know, maybe we'll do a rewatch where you know we can raise some money for charity. That would be really fun. So
that would be so cool. And thank you so much again. Like exactly what Simon's just said. You've been amazing. So it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Good to see you both. Thanks, Dom. Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.